So let's go back to where we started, which is this idea that there's this I and this that principle occurring in creation. Well, that means it's occurring in us.
Yes.
And we're going to tune into what's occurring with us. And if you just for a moment tune into the idea of waking up, and just remember a time when you woke up quite slowly. I don't know if you ever had this, when you kind of like woke up and it was all in slow motion. You wondered where you were, wondered what was going on. You may have even wondered who you were. You ever had that experience? Well, just sort of just take yourself back into that space for a moment. I know I've sometimes had it like on a train where, normally if I'm asleep, I'm in a bed, but everything's different. I'm all confused and it all goes into sort of slow motion. And the first sense you get is this sense of, as you wake up, a sense of just beingness. There's no question that you're me. I'm just me. But there's no distinction in there either. You're just in this place of existence. And then you start to think, well, hang on, I am something. I am somebody. I don't know who I am, but I am something, somebody. And you start to get a sense that you are a person, and that maybe you have a name, and that oh yes, of course I'm me, I'm John, or whatever, and that then you are somewhere. Oh, I'm jolting around. What's that? Oh, and then it coalesces into the idea of, oh, I'm in a train. And then suddenly everything just falls into place. And suddenly you know where you are, you know who you are. Oh, I'm John, I'm sitting in a chair, I fell asleep in the train. But there was this sequence to it of coalescing into form, into idea of who I am, where I am, and what's around me. And if you like, that's a mini little taster into that whole creative process that's very grandly called the creative process of the Atman, or the infinite self, or the absolute, or the all that is. And it's actually just a very, very familiar process that we do. You see, the all that is, the Atman, can't do that process outside of you. Because you are that Atman doing that process. The process happens through the individual. The individual doesn't participate or partake of that process. So waking up is a little taster of that process in action.
God, I feel like I'm going to burst out my body.
And what we find is that wave of coalescing into form and object around you and who you are is actually a vibrant, radiant, ecstatic, energetic pulse of your own being, a wave of your own being, your own consciousness. It's the essential essence of that one being that we are, creating the idea of living on an island, of playing chess, or living on this plane of existence we call our Earth. It radiates out from our own heart, our common core centre, the one being that we are, in, if you like, almost glittering spangles of bubbly light and love. Sparati is the name in Spanda for that glittering essence. Sparati or Spandana. Like particles of dancing gossamer threads weaving together in a tapestry of our essence, crystallizing exquisitely for each one of us into the form, the solidity, an expanse of our own private projected universe. So that we, that is you and I, can share this experience right now together. This idea of an unfolding of reality from what's like a compressed space of consciousness without dimension is a little bit like a fan unfolding. A fan closed up seems to occupy no space. When it unfolds, the pleats open up and becomes complete as it unfolds into one big fan. We may even have a picture on it of a nice Chinese lady with an umbrella. And that was all held in that closed fan, but when it opened up, it appeared. It's enfolded in itself when it's closed, and it's unfolded when it's open. And we are that fan, and it's opening and closing between us. And what we'd like to do now is tune more into that creative process and almost slow it down so we can really appreciate that fine art of creation that we do and the energetic impulse that is Spanda. And to do this, we're going to have a little kind of meditation And it will involve eyes open as well as eyes closed. But we'll stay with eyes closed for a while.
So I want to stay with
And what I like to say is that this creative process of projecting out our entire universe and then collapsing it back into ourselves is actually happening all the time. You know, on a film, when it's running at 25 frames per second, or 24, there's actually just individual frames, and the shutter goes down and closes that frame off. A new frame comes in place, the shutter goes up, the light shines through of a new frame on that film. And we see them all going, and that creates a reality for us, doesn't it? Of course, what's actually happening is that reality is coming in and out of existence all the time. And if you slow a film down and put it into slow motion, you can see each frame come up, hold in place in that light for a moment, and then disappear back into the darkness again, because we put it into slow motion. So one of the ways of accessing Spanda is to play with ways of slowing your creation down, that refresh, if you like, of your putting it out there, bringing it back, so that you can become aware of that projection, holding, and then coming back into dissolution, back into your own being again. Thereby, not just enjoy the film, but also the creative process that's allowing the film to be projected in the first place. Now, are you with me on that one? Okay, great. Now, there are many ways of doing this, and many meditations allow this to happen without being quite explicit as to what's going on. We're going to introduce just one of them now, which is actually to watch the creative process on the breath.